What's up, people? Back with another reaction, back with some more punk rock, and we're going back to Offspring's Ignition album, 1992, though I should mention this is a 2007 reissue. I talked about it in the first reaction I did to Offspring. They're a band I definitely remember encountering in my late, elementary school, early junior high period. Ultimately, they were one of the bands that I actually heard before I really got into punk rock, which happened at the end of '93, beginning of '94, when I first heard Propagandhi. And then I sort of dove into punk rock more significantly, but I had heard a little bit before, and Offspring is one of those groups. And eventually, not only would Smash become like an international success and sort of propel them to international notoriety, I do enjoy their earlier stuff as much as anything else. Again, I'm forgetting the name of the very first album. Maybe that was the self-titled. I know there were two before this, and one of them I think was the self-titled. I'm blanking on the name of the other one. A friend of mine had those, and I heard them, and I enjoyed it. So eventually I got this, and later Smash when it came out. So again, I have been listening to them for a long time, but as I mentioned in that other video, by the time I got into the second half of the 90s, I was listening to so many other bands and starting to go to rave parties and get into techno and eventually buy turntables. And I was into hip hop, and there was only so much room, so I sort of stopped following Offspring by the time you get to the late 90s. And then I think I mentioned later, I eventually heard what is the song with the pretty fly for a white guy. I remember thinking wow, that's really different from what I remember hearing from them. Because by that point I hadn't been listening to them for a little while. But yeah, we're gonna go back to, as I said, Ignition. Probably still my favorite album from them. I do like Smash a lot. I do like the ones before this, which I never owned, but again I heard a few times because one of my friends had them. But yeah, we're going to listen to Session, which is the opening tune on the album. As with Kick 'Em When He's Down, I remember sort of the sound of the song more than I recall the lyrics as I go to listen to it now. But I do remember one aspect of it, because I remember a friend of mine and me talking about it and being a bit I'm not sure. But basically he talks about being home alone and he's gonna have another goddamn session, and we were sort of oh, is he smoking, or is he taking care of himself, so to speak? We weren't quite sure what type of session was being invoked. So I mentioned before when I did the reaction to Kick 'Em When He's Down, something about Dexter Holland's voice. I've never been good at picking up on individual words within a line the first time through. It usually takes me a few listens to pick up on what he was saying. At least it did back in the day. And given that it's been so long since I've gone through this album, I can't guarantee that I'll catch everything now. Obviously, like I said, there's a few lines that I do remember, but we'll have to see if I can get any more details or shed any more light on exactly what the nature of the session that the narrator is having. But let's get to it. This is Session by The Offspring on their 1992 album Ignition. On Epitaph. If he drops something on his toe. It's a good album opener. Coming in with pace, coming in with heat. sometimes that like, you know, slide down the guitar string sound works really well. That was a good moment. This album is mixed very well, and I don't know how that may vary from the original. Like maybe this reissue is a remaster also, although it's not listed that way. It's just listed as a reissue, so I don't know. As far as I can tell, this may just be the original sound. And it, like, you know, I had the album back in the day, but I lost that version many years ago. It's one of those where you like have them in like a CD booklet, you know, for like old school CD players in cars, and then, you know, eventually at some point I lost the booklet, and it's like, oh crap, there went like 35 CDs, whoops. But yeah, I really do enjoy it, and it sounds really good. As I said, I'm not sure if that's the original mix or if it's been remastered, but it just has like a good like blending of the elements, like volume wise, and sort of the crisp nature, and his vocals come through very clearly in terms of like the sonic impact. Again, there's some times where I'm like, what was the first line of that song? It's like, I think it's like the way he starts lines. Something about like, because he often will like kind of like shout into them and so on, and just, yeah, I like have a hard time getting like all the lines in a particular, or the words in a particular line. But yeah, I picked up on a couple more lines. Like I said, you know, it's like Session's kind of hard on him, but he has no complaints and so on. So I'm still not sure. But again, that would kind of fit with like either interpretation, because anything, like whether it's you know, recreational, chemical enjoyment, or whether it's you know, physical gratification and so on. You know, moderation is key, right? And like anything in life, if you overdo it, if you do it excessively, it will tend to have more negative consequences, whereas if you do it more sparingly, and more in rhythm with other things in your life, then generally speaking, you know, you may derive more of the benefits and fewer of the detractions or the harm. So yeah, let me know if you have an angle on this one. Let me know if you're also fond of this album. As I said, eventually I'm going to go through Offspring Smash. I do like that album a lot, including a couple tunes that, you know, I think I mentioned Killboy Powerhead. There's a couple on there that I don't think they were hits in the way several of the other songs on that album were hits, including Self-Esteem, which I said I have a sort of personal connection to, so I'll have to talk about that one at some point. But yeah, like Killboy Powerhead, and there's a couple others that I think are really good, even if they didn't get the same radio play. So we'll come back for that album eventually. But I do want to go this one through this one, because, as I said, this was the first one I got, and it remains probably my favorite to this day. So yeah, let me know what you think. Other than that, I will see you next time. Peace.